It's trying. And it didn't freak out this time, so that's awesome. I do love that for me. That is very nice. I do like it when it doesn't do that to me. Now, if we had ourselves a little bit of a good old time here, let's see. We got things to do, things to work on before the stream starts. I gotta get, what's this box over here? What is that? Oh, this thing is like trying to pull over there. That's not what we want, is it? That is not what we want. Doo ba ba bee. We're doing what we do. It gets mad at me when I don't post a video before I go live. But you know what? That's just what I do. Espresso. Good for you in the middle of the night. It's exactly what you need. Power you through. You get back over there, Espresso. I do love you so much. Excuse me. Gotta fix this tiny bit there. There we go. I'm better now. Look at me, hanging out. Howdy. How you doing? We're just getting things prepped, having ourselves a good old time. Come here, microphone. You're too far away from me. I don't like you way up there. You get over here with me, all right? You and me are going to hang out. We're going to be friends. I do love a good old friendly microphone. I'm doing well. How about yourself? Yeah, I was leaving a little bit far away from myself. I didn't mean to keep it so far. Oh boy, we're having one of them nights. Got too much to do and too little time to do it in. Too many things to do, too many people to see. Too many, you know what I mean. Too much stuff. Well, good. I'm glad you're doing well. I'm glad you caught it too. I'm just hanging out while I prep some stuff. Prepping some stuff. Time to get some things going. It is so mad at me that I did not post a video first. Like, hey, you were supposed to get out there and post a video, you dumb bastard. And I'm like, I know, look, I know. I got stuff to do. I can't be making videos all day long. I'm doing my best. I'm doing my absolute best. It's all I got in me. And you see, love, if I'm going to have to be, spending all this time trying to prep exactly what I want from this audio, I can't have it, being distracting. You know what I mean? No one ever seems to understand exactly what I mean. But when I say the audio it's not going to work the way I want it to unless I have exactly what I need. I have to warn everybody for. I ain't got to warn nobody about nothing. Howdy, welcome to the stream. Come on in. Who wants to hang out? We'll get a beer. Have ourselves a good old time. Come on now. Go on a good old horseback ride. Hang out. Got all the time in the world. We can do what we need to do. Where is that dirty little thing that I was going to work on? There you are. Hello, darling. I've missed you. Come to me. Not that. Turn that off so you guys can't see this. Don't look at my stuff. Thank you. I am no one's warning. I exist solely as a canary. I'm here to tell you it's too late. Metaphor Refantasio is so cool looking. Ba-da-da-da. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Ba-ba-ba-da-ba. We're gonna put you over here, baby girl. You're gonna go right there. And too late for what? I ain't doing nothing. Howdy, welcome in. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Come hang out. We're having ourselves a good old time. Oh, ain't nobody making you stay here, girl. You can do whatever you want. Not like you're being held hostage, you know. Alaska. Oh boy. It's too far away from people, I guess. Close to bears, right? There are bears in Alaska. Go hunting for bears. That's a thing. Oh, I don't know about anybody. I don't know about where anybody is. We're just hanging out. Having ourselves a good old time. Gratuitous amounts of bears. That seems like too many bears. Too many bears. Too many bears. What do we have over here, folks? It's too many bears. Yeah, well, you know, what are you gonna do? You got bears. You got beets. I can't do that. That hurt my soul a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. Ooh, what is this email for? Hello, casting call. Could I be your man, please? I'd love to. Tell me more. Tell me more. Wow. Hi, Nadal. You probably haven't heard me in an anime. If you have, you heard me in the background, at best. We're doing our best. But, I hear the meese are more dangerous than the bears, but what do I know? What do I know? I don't know a damn thing, I can tell you that much. Not a single fucking thing. I can only curse in Irish. As long as I use an Irish accent, it doesn't seem to realize that I'm cursing and I don't get in as much trouble. But as soon as I switch over to any type of accent, it knows I'm cursing and I can't do it anymore. I get in trouble. Yes, but if I do it in an Irish accent, it doesn't get mad at me. But if I do it in any other type of like Southern or anything like that, it gets mad. It's like it knows what the Southern accent is. I don't understand it. But we're doing our best to behave. It's not my strong suit, but I do my best. I do try. It ain't easy being cheesy, but you know, sometimes you gotta throw out a gosh dang it, Bobby, I can't do nothing with this child these days. Ain't none of your business, girl. What I drink ain't none of your business. Dang it, Bobby. Dad! Butterfree. I loved that show growing up. Ain't none of your business. You ain't gotta worry about that for a sec now. Ain't nothing you gotta concern yourself with. Just know that I am well hydrated. The vocal cords are lubricated. That's all you gotta worry about, girl. How much work do I have to do? It's too much. Too much work on my list to do. I should make a cowboy version of my guy. I'm scared. That's about it. I'm not stretching. I would never. Oh, what am I working on? The word lubricated is not necessarily an inherently bad word. It's only bad whenever it's used in the context, I don't know, of P. Diddy or whatever. I'm working on books. Oh, hey, KB. I didn't see you come in. You gotta remember, I can't see what happens in this thing. It is like a stream of things. And it doesn't tell me when people join. I can't see you when you come in. So, but hi, I can see you when you talk. I can't. It doesn't tell me. I'm not on the TikTok app. I'm over here on something else. Excuse me. That was gross. I ain't on the TikTok app. They tell me I'm famous on the TikTok. You know, I don't know why, but... Hello. How are you? And we're just hanging out and playing. Gonna play games here in about like an hour or so. But until then, I'm just prepping some work I'm going to do. I thought about reading some scary stories, but I don't know how you all feel about that. I don't know how I feel about that. What if I get scared? That may not be fun for anybody. My headphones just died. Oops. Come to me, headphones. The problem with most scary stories you find on the internet is that they are not appropriate. Creepy. Now let's see. I'm also standing, so I have to bend over to type. It's too late. You've been outnumbered. Whoever you are that said no. You've been beaten. You've been blinded. You've been tied up, and you've been overruled. Because I need to prep my voice, and that means doing something. And if you're going to read something, I might as well read something scary. Anyone else watching Uzumaki? It's good. I like it. Well, the first episode was good. The second one was... It was okay. Creed horror? Creed horror would be great. Hold me now. Which creepypasta did you believe is real? No, thank you. I just want to find a story. I don't want to find... This is the problem with the new version of the site. You can't find anything you actually want to find. Which one did you believe was real? None of them. They're all fake. Alright, let's see. No. Why are these ones more popular? Is all time most popular, and I'm not finding stories, I'm finding something else. This is just a comic. That's not what I'm looking... What in the absolute... Oh, my mouse got wet. Oops. Oopsie. Is it not creepypasta where they put the stories? I thought that's where it was. Where do they put the stories? Creed Bratton would be great. I know that. Where'd KB go? New loser? We may have. Who knows? Come back. Oh. Oh, I'm not gonna go to the... I'm not going there. No. I refuse to go to that website. I'm going to find it. No sleep is what it's called these days. I should have known. I should have known better, but I didn't. Nobody answered my Uzumaki question, and it makes me sad about all of you. It was good. Darn it. Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it. It's good, I like it. Can't read that one. It has a lot of bad words. Is this just... I work as a night guard at a grocery store. Oh, past month. Okay. They left a strange set of rules. I'm going to throw out that this is going to be a retelling of Night at the Museum, but it's going to be spooky. I'm going to read it, but... All right. I wasn't paying attention. That is fair. Look. What do you expect me to do? I can't look at the thing all the time. All right, here we go. Hey, Dread. It's been a long time, buddy. How are you? It doesn't help that we're on, like, opposite sides of the world. Good to see you. All right. I'm going to read spooky stories. For those of you who don't like spooky stories, I'd leave now because I'm going to read spooky stories for a minute because I'm trying to warm up my voice. But if you don't like that kind of thing, yeah. If you don't like that kind of thing, I'd leave now. Don't do that. I saw the job listing 2 weeks ago. Wanted. Night guard at West Market in Redacted, PA. 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. shift. $21 an hour. The whole thing struck me as odd right off the bat. What kind of grocery store needed a security guard while it was closed? Was the crime really that bad? I'm very close to my microphone. Give me a second. Come here, Pop Filter. I believed in you. Pop, 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 pop. I'm bad about plosives, sorry. But I needed the money. Badly. And 2 days later, after a phone interview with a man named Clive, I showed up for my first shift. As soon as I pulled up, I sort of understood why they needed a night guard. The grocery store sat on the edge of a rundown strip mall. Large signs reading "Space for Rent" hung in the store windows, but judging by the dusty glass and flickering street lamps, no one had taken them up on their offer in years. I parked near the front door. Uno momento, por favor. I don't know, Stacy. Crunchy ice. I know, right? I do. You know what I like to do is I like to take my espresso. No one judge me for this in advance, okay? And I'll get back to the story in a second. I like to take 4 shots of espresso at night. I put it in the freezer for about an hour. I come back to it. Then it's nice and crunchy, you know? And then I break through it, put a little bit of creamer in it. And then I've got basically like just the beginnings of like an espresso milkshake. It is very good. I'm dying. I choked. I'm fine. It's fine. God. All right, I'm fine. All right. I parked in the... Oh, yes. Okay. But judging by the dusty windows, the dusty glass, and flickering street lamps, no one had taken them up on their offer in years. I parked near the front door, and as I approached the building, I saw a woman hurrying away from the store. "You must be Erin," she said breathlessly. "The night guard?" "That's me." "Clive left you some instructions. I put him on the conveyor belt on register 1. She gave me a polite nod and then stepped around me, heading for the only other car in the parking lot. "Oh, thanks." "Be friendly," my inner voice scolded. "She's your new coworker." I turned around. "Hey, what's your name?" But she was already diving into the car. The door slammed, the car reeled out of the parking space, and then she was gone. So much for a new friend. I refuse to breathe. Breathing is the enemy. I envy vampires solely for their ability to not have to breathe. I turned back towards the store. The parking lot was completely empty now, and the nearest streetlight was flickering with an odd, erratic rhythm. A cold wind swept in, whipping a crumpled paper bag across the parking lot. Well, here goes nothing. I stepped up to the store. The glass doors squeaked as I couldn't read the word. Squeaked as they parted for me, and then I stepped inside. Despite its outward appearance, the store was actually pretty nice inside. Bright fluorescent lights shone from overhead. Jazzy music played from hidden speakers. I headed over to register 1, where a folded piece of paper was waiting for me. I flipped it open and began to read. "Dear Erin, welcome to the West family. We sincerely hope you enjoy your first shift. To help you, we've compiled a list of rules that should make your shift as easy as our fresh-baked apple pie." Power of flight, a sense of amorality. What did I miss? I don't know what that means. The rules state, as night guard, you are expected to patrol the store every half hour, making sure nothing is amiss. You may spend the rest of your night in the break room, in the back of the store, monitoring the security camera feeds. Do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. If you hear a knocking sound coming from within the freezers in the frozen food aisle, ignore it. If you see a shopping cart that hasn't been put away, please return to the shopping carts at the front of the store immediately. Do not be alarmed if you find a pool of blood in the meat aisle. Sometimes our meat packages leak. Simply head to the storage closet, get a mop and bucket, and clean it up. However, do not step in the puddle or touch it in any way. If you see a woman in the store, immediately go to the break room and stay there until she leaves. Do not call the police or report a break-in. Do not make eye contact with her. The music we play throughout the store is a pre-recorded disc of instrumental jazz. If the music ever stops, immediately go to the break room and stay there until it resumes. Do not, under any circumstances, end your shift early. Thank you so much, and again, I hope you enjoy your shift. Clive. Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. You put this note in front of me, my first thought is going to be like, aisle 7? What is down aisle 7? And it's just going to be diapers. I'm going to be like, oh, okay, well. That's terrible. But you're right. I mean, the only way to really get out of these situations is always to do the things you're not supposed to do all at the same time, right? That tends to fix it. I stared at the rules, rereading them slowly. They were so weird. A woman in the store? Avoid aisle 7? I'd never been given instructions like this before. Even when I worked as a bouncer at a nightclub in a bad part of town. Maybe it was a test. They wanted to see how well I could follow instructions, no matter how absurd they were. I looked up at the security camera, staring down at me from the corner. Okay, challenge accepted. I glanced at my phone. 12:06. Might as well get my first patrol out of the way now, before getting settled in. It was odd walking through this store when it was so empty and quiet. All the bread and muffins were stored away somewhere. White opaque plastic had been pulled down of the vegetable display to keep the cold in. When I got to the end, I made a right into the meat section. Sheets of plastic had been pulled down of the meat coolers, too. I saw flashes of red through the gaps, of massive ribeye and sirloin steaks, big slabs of meat with bones still intact. I averted my eyes. While I wasn't vegetarian, I never really liked the sight of raw meat. I turned instead to the aisles. Aisle 3, pasta and sauces, all lined up on the shelves, glinting in the fluorescent light. Aisle 4, cookies and snacks. Aisle 5, aisle 6. Oh, right. I wasn't supposed to look at aisle 7. I forced myself to look down at the floor. Yeah, it was stupid, but they told me not to look. In the off chance they were going to check the CCTV footage later to grade my performance, I was going to follow every rule. Boring. Boring. Don't follow the rules. I continued further into the store. A few minutes later, I found the break room, a nondescript brown door with a little square window cut into it. I took note of its location for later. As soon as I was done with this patrol, I was going to break out my laptop and finish watching Friday the 13th 4. Okay. And then I was on the west end of the store, the frozen section. I turned down the aisle, heading back towards the front. That's where I saw it. A shopping cart, parked askew in the middle of the aisle. I huffed. Of all the rules, this is the one that annoyed me the most. I was hired to be a security guard, not a cleanup crew. Wasn't it the employee's job to put the carts away at closing time? Sighing, I began to push it toward the front of the store. The wheels rolled smoothly underneath me. The jazz music played softly in my ears. I turned the corner and walked past the cash registers, heading towards the front door. That's when I heard it. A soft sound, barely audible over the jazz music. I stopped, straining my ears to listen. Several seconds of silence went by, and then I heard it again. It sounded like someone crying. The hairs on my neck stood on end. There's no one in here. The door's been locked the whole time. Unless a customer had accidentally stayed past closing time. Maybe that employee, the woman I'd run into in the parking lot, didn't notice them and locked up before they could get out. Wait, I want to make my guy look scared. Locked up. Who's there? I called out. A wailing sob in response. My heart plummeted. It sounded like a woman, or possibly even a child. I'm coming, I called, breaking into a run. Where are you? They didn't reply. They just kept sobbing. I frantically continued in the direction of the sound, calling out to them, telling them everything would be okay. And then I stopped dead. The sound, it was coming from aisle 7. Do not go down aisle 7. Do not look down aisle 7. The rules have been very clear about that. I stopped just short of the aisle next to an end-cap display of mayonnaise and carefully positioned myself so I was hidden. I'm going to help you, I called out. Can you tell me what happened? They finally spoke, but they didn't hear my question. Help, the voice cried through more sobs. Please. I wanted to step into the aisle. My foot was already halfway off the door. My foot was already halfway off the floor, ready to run in there and comfort them, but something stopped me. A gut instinct, a little alarm bell going off in my head, because out of all the aisles, what were the chances this person would be in aisle 7? And besides, they were safe. They were in an empty store with me. It's not like they were in a dark alleyway in the middle of the night. Come out of the aisle, I called, my voice shaking a little. Then I'll be able to help you. Please, the voice replied. Help me. This is stupid. Clearly some person got stuck in there after closing time and they're scared. Just go into the aisle and help them get home. But there was another part of my brain, the instinctual lizard part brain. It was screaming at me not to move. Do you need me to call someone? I tried. Your parents or family? The police? Help me, the voice pleaded again. The help me, it sounded the same. Each time they said it, a little stutter at the beginning, emphasis on me. It almost sounded like a recording or some AI-generated thing looping over and over. It didn't sound natural. Come out of the aisle, I shouted. Come out and I'll help you. The sobs got louder, faster, hysterical. Help me, the voice pleaded again in a desperate tone that made my stomach twist. I stood there, pressed against the mayonnaise display, listening to them, sob making my stomach flip-flop. Even if it did sound slightly unnatural. I could call the police, I thought. They'd know what to do. Except I left my cell phone in my backpack at Register 1, and getting it would mean crossing aisle 7. The rules didn't say anything about walking past aisle 7. They just said I shouldn't go down or look down it. And I couldn't stand there and do nothing. What if it really was someone needing help? A child who'd sprained their ankle and couldn't get up. Don't worry, I'm getting my phone and calling the police, I called out. Then I took a deep breath and stepped across the threshold of aisle 7 toward Register 1. As soon as I took a step, the crying stopped. Just like that. Violent sobbing, and then in an instant, nothing. Like a switch had flipped. Then the footsteps started. Loud, slapping footsteps, as if someone was running down the aisle, way too large to be a child, coming straight at me. My heart dropped. It's a trap. They're coming for me and I'm probably going to die here. But as soon as I made it across the aisle, the sound stopped. All I heard were the soft jazz tunes playing through the speakers overhead. I hightailed it to the break room, completely forgetting about the card I was supposed to return. Oops. Throwing the mayo is right. It's supposed to be like a little paragraph break here, so I'm taking a drink. How long I got? 30 minutes? I got time. The break room was small and cramped. The little square window in the door had been blacked out by construction paper from the inside. That was weird. The only source of light came from the computer screen on my desk, displaying the security camera feeds. I scrolled through the feeds. I quickly noticed that none of them none of them offered coverage of aisle 7. It seemed like the cameras were intentionally placed to avoid that aisle. After searching the grainy black and white video for anything amiss, I leaned back in the chair and closed my eyes. When I finally opened them again, it was almost 12:30, time for my next patrol. I didn't want to go. I felt safe here, locked up in this little room. But I also know I wouldn't be safe if I didn't listen to the rules. I shuddered, imagining what would have happened if I'd gone down aisle 7, if I hadn't listened. I pulled myself out of the seat and headed for the door. The store was completely silent. No hysterical sobbing or pounding, footsteps. I started my patrol near the back, walking toward aisle 17. Cans of food glinted on the shelves as I passed, but when I glanced at them, I didn't see any labels I recognized. No Chef Ravioli or Giant Green Man, just generically labeled cans of meat stew. In fact, all the aisle had was meat stew, the same cans over and over and over. I reached the end and turned right, towards the front of the store, and that's when I realized that I had already broken one of the rules. The cart. I hadn't returned it. Yeah, no, the meat stew. It wasn't where I'd left it. Instead of haphazardly parking near aisle 7. Whatever. It sat next to one of the cash registers, like some ghost man was checking out his groceries. I paused for a second, hands hovering above the handle. Then I grabbed it and headed towards the door. Outside, the parking lot was pitch black, not a single street lamp. The shopping carts are only a few feet from the door, I told myself. Just go in and out. It'll take 2 seconds. I did it as quickly as possible. I ran into the darkness, slammed the shopping cart in the row, and dashed back inside. Then I shut the doors and clicked the lock. Okay, that wasn't too bad, I told myself, letting out a sigh of relief. For a second, I reveled in the peace of the store, the silence, the safety of being locked inside with no one else with me. But then I stopped. The silence. Oh no. The jazz music wasn't playing. How long had it been off? I'd been preoccupied with returning the card. I wasn't even paying attention. I broke into a sprint toward the back of the store, cookies and snacks flashing past me. Then I swerved right and sprinted into the break room. I pulled out the list of rules and read them over again. Do not, under any circumstance, end your shift early. Why did he write that? Was it because he didn't want anyone flaking out on him, or was it because if I left early, something horrible would happen? Because I really, really wanted to leave. I opened my backpack, pulled out a soda I'd brought, and popped it open, took a sip, scrolled through the security feed. 5 more hours. I mean, the meat stew's gotta be people, right? Why else were they saying, like, there's gonna be meat blood on the floor? Like, that's 100% gonna happen. The next 4 patrols went fairly well. The rules didn't say how long they had to be. So every 30 minutes, I sprinted a lap around the store as fast as I could. The whole thing only took about a minute. Then, the other 29, I locked myself in the break room. On the second patrol, I heard knocking as I ran through the freezer aisle. It started as a light tapping across the glass and crescendoed in loud thumps, like someone was slamming their palms against the glass doors. As per the rules, I ignored it. I just kept running until I made it back to the break room. On the last patrol, the music had cut out again, so I quickly detoured and got to the break room as quickly as I could, the silence ringing in my ears. And now here I was in the break room, with 3 hours left. Hello. We're reading a spoopy story. I need to do a warm-up, so this is pretty helpful. I stared at my phone's clock, ticking slowly towards 3 a.m. I stood up, shaking up my nervous energy, preparing myself to sprint. I'd been a runner back in high school, but in the past 10 years I'd gotten way out of shape. The last patrol had left me panting with my legs aching. My hands closed around the doorknob, my heart hammered in my chest. 3, 2, 1, go. I wrenched the door open and shot out of the store, but I didn't get very far because there was an enormous pool of blood on the floor. I froze, all the air sucked out of my lungs. I stared at it, shining in the fluorescent light. The rules said to clean it up, but that would take at least 10 minutes. And that wasn't safe out here. I swallowed, then hurried to the supply closet, got a mop and a bucket, and started to clean as fast as I could. The job was messy. I slid the mop through it, then dunked it in the bucket, rinsed and repeated, the soapy water tinging red. A few times it splashed up and almost landed on me. But I did it. I cleaned it up without touching a drop. Unfortunately, by the time I finished, it was 3:27, time for the next patrol. I was too tired to run, so I settled for a brisk walk around the store. I headed up through the frozen food. I noticed now there were handprints in the glass door. Handprints of all sizes, tilted and smudged, except the proportions looked all wrong, with fingers that were too long or too thin. I averted my eyes and kept going. 2.5 more hours. My footsteps clicked on the tile floor. The jazz was starting to grate on my nerves. I must have heard the same looping saxophone melody 20 times now. It made me want to punch something. Sighing, I continued toward the produce section, briskly walking past the aisles. Then, I stopped. Something caught my eye. In one of the aisles, I backed up and took a better look. Someone was standing in aisle 9. A woman. She wore a blue linen dress and had black high heels, long black hair cascading down her back, almost to her waist. She faced away from me, standing still, her thin white arms hanging limply at her sides. In her hand was a basket filled with cuts of raw meat. The rules echoed through my head. If you see a woman in the store, immediately go to the break room. Do not make eye contact with her. I slowly backed up as quietly as possible, and then I started down the aisle to the break room. Click, click, click. I heard her footsteps echo against the tile. I hurried my pace toward the break room when I stopped. Her footsteps weren't coming from behind me. They were coming from in front of me. I averted my eyes to the floor just as I saw 2 black, high-heeled shoes step into the aisle. I stared at the floor. Do not make eye contact with her. The words repeated over and over in my head, but I had to get to the break room, and she was standing in the way. All I could see were her shiny, high-heeled shoes, and the drops of red stuff leaking out of the meat package of her basket, staining the floor. I backed up. That was the only way I could go. I kept my eyes on the floor, careful not to look up, but she was following me. Click, click, click. For every step I took, I saw a shiny black heel come into view, attached to a thin, white calf extended. Keeping time with me, I quickened my pace, so did she. Click, click, click. I wheeled around and broke into a sprint. Click, 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 click. I ran down an aisle at random and sprinted in the break room, and then halfway down the aisle I stopped. A shopping cart was parked in the middle of the aisle, blocking my way. Not just one cart, but several of them, stacked up in a teetering tower that was nearly as tall as the aisles themselves. I was trapped. I backed away, my heart pounding. Click. Slow, methodical footsteps coming towards me, slowly like a cat stalking its prey. I took my chances, turned around, sprinted back into the open, and stepped into the next aisle. Oh, no. I knew it instantly. A tattered lump of gray clothing and sickly pale blue skin sat on the floor. The person, the creature, the thing, folded in on itself, in a pose reminiscent of a crying child, but it obviously wasn't anything resembling a human. With its strange lumps and appendages and complete lack of a head, I'd stepped on aisle 7. I immediately reversed direction, but not before the thing unfolded itself and began to move towards me. I whipped around and screaming sprinted on the next aisle. Miraculously, I made it to the end of one piece. I veered sharply left toward the break room. Almost there. My hand hit the doorknob. I wrenched it open and dove inside, and I collapsed in the chair, panting. I sucked in a breath, stared at the door. Am I really safe in here? I can't say the other word for red stuff. technically the rules never said I would be safe. Maybe staying in here only decreased my chance of not living. I turned my attention to the security feed on the monitor. It showed the middle of the store, and from what I could see, the aisles were empty, no trace of the woman. And I switched to the next feed, the produce section empty. I switched to the next one. I jumped. She was standing right there in front of the break room door. She stood so still the image could have been a photograph, except for the red dripping from the meat in her basket. I swallowed and glanced away from the monitor at the door. My heart slammed into my ribs when I saw her shadow under the door. Go away, please. Go away, please, I pleaded in my mind. The shadow of her head in the window tilted as if contemplating her next move. Now I knew why the window had been covered. I forced my eyes away and looked back at the screen. She was still standing there, except there was something different about the way she was standing. I squinted at the grainy black and white image, trying to figure out what was going on. When my eyes finally fell on her heels, I realized they were facing forward, but I was looking at the back of her head, at the long black hair cascading down her waist. Either her hair was hanging over her face, or she turned her head all the way around. It must have been 20 minutes before she began to walk away from the door. I couldn't tell if it was just the low frame rate of these crummy cameras or her movements looked jerky, her body lurching with each step. I look away for 1 second. When she disappeared from the screen, I let out a sigh of relief. My hands and legs were shaking, weak. Okay, think. The rules said to wait until she left. All I had to do was watch the feed by the front door. As soon as I saw her leave the store, I'd be safe. After a few minutes of sitting there, waiting for my heart rate to return to normal, I forced my fingers back to the keyboard. I pressed the arrow key to move to the next feed, then the next, looking for the camera at the front of the store. No. Her face. Her face filled the entire screen. Her eyes filled me with horror. They were pure white. No pupils, no irises, just pure white eyes threaded with spidery veins. I screamed and jumped back. Then I shut my eyes. The rules said don't make eye contact. Did that count? Through the screen? I let out terrified, shuddering wail as I covered my face with my hands, my entire body shaking. But when I finally took a peek through my fingers, I saw her, rapidly scaling down the wall, away from the camera on the ceiling, like some kind of spider. And then she pushed through the glass doors and disappeared into the night. She left. I was safe, or as safe as I could be in this cursed grocery store. I glanced at the clock. 3:58. Time to patrol. This is just a store for monsters in the middle of the night, and they really want to, like, hang out with this dude. They're like, hey, I'm just looking for, like, tenderloin, if you could just get that for me. And he's like, And I'm like, well, I'm just a spider lady. I come here every night. Anyway, I really didn't want to, but I forced myself to swing the door open and run as fast as I could through the store. I saw shopping carts stacked in teetering towers, heard hands pounding against freezer doors, saw little spots of red on the shiny tile from the woman as she'd stalked me. And then a minute later I was done, locked myself back in the break room, and for the first time in years began to sob. The remaining patrols went by without incident, though I did hear more sobbing from aisle 7 and banging in the freezers, and then the hour had come, 6 a.m. My heart soared at the sight of the pink dawn sky through the glass doors. I was safe. I was free. But then I glanced out in the parking lot. I saw a few cars pulling in. Disgruntled, groggy employees clutching coffees, heading towards me. As soon as the first one came in, I flew out of the grocery store, ran to my car, and got out as fast as I could. I'd never felt such relief, such happiness. I felt like a new man. All of my problems, even my financial ones, seemed dwarfed by what I just endured. When I pulled onto the main road, I rolled down my windows and flicked on the radio. But it wasn't my usual classic rock that blared through the speakers. Instead, I heard the upbeat tone of a saxophone, and as I listened to the horrible looping melody, I realized that my nights as a night guard at the West Market may not be over yet. Ba-da-ba, that's the end. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-da-ba. We did it. I'm proud of all of you. You did a very good job. I don't know. I really expected him to. I'm going to be honest. I have not read that one. I expected him to get trapped in the. I thought he was going to walk out and then, like, realize he was in the freezer and, like, he was stuck in. Like, he was going to walk up to the glass doors of the thing and be like, yeah, I made it out. And then realize, like, he was on the other side of the freezer. That's what I was expecting. But no. Can't be cool like that, can it? It's got to be all spooky. You got to make up your own ending because he's got to go back. The top comment is, if you continue working there, you should beat them at their own game. When you see the old lady, hop on the intercom and say, I've seen one-legged old ladies who can spider climb better than you. If you hear knocking on the freezer doors, just unplug it. Tell Clive to get himself a wet-dry shop vac so you don't have to mop the floor. And just close off aisle 7. Why do we even have aisle 7 open? And he's right, you know? Yeah, the different shaped handprints. That's fun. Well, I got like 20 minutes before I'm going to go over to Twitch. Is there like a short one I could read? Let's see. This one's short. This one's the most popular one in the last month. It's called, I Took My Family to a Water Park. It Ruined Our Lives. So, buckle up. You got 18 minutes before I hop over to Twitch. Who's ready for it? Are y'all good? Y'all cool with more spoopy stories? Are we doing this? I don't know how many people are here, by the way. I can't tell. It doesn't show me. So if nobody's here, that's fine, too. It's also okay for just nobody to be here. I'll be here by myself. I'm good at that. I took my family to the water park, and it ruined our lives. Okay, buddy, we're right here. If you hurry, you can hit the wave pool before we go. I ruffled Will's hair, gave him a little push. He folded his arms defiant. Racing slide. It's the funniest one. Most fun, I corrected. And whatever you say, Willie. He nodded and with a humph, satisfied and scurried off. He weaved his way through the molasses of a crowd, splitting families and couples as he homed in on a dilapidated porta-potty. Is that where he wanted to go? This is one of the few recent attempts Will had dared to use the bathroom all by himself. He was capping a good run, but being out of the house, I kept an eye on him for the door of any signs of distress. Said it 100 times, I would have noticed anyone coming or going. Maybe 5 seconds I looked away. Was that enough time for him to jump out and run off in the opposite direction? About 5 minutes after he'd gone, I got up. I leaned on a casual arm against the porta-potty. In a whisper shout over the drone of a few hundred happy pool-goers behind me, Buddy, it's me. How's it going in there? There was movement inside, I swear it. I swear it wasn't my imagination. I heard something. I turned and saw my wife, dipping dots in one hand and waving with the other. Can't call it a day at the water park without ice cream. I smiled and wrinkled my nose as a joke. All right, Will, I'm coming in. The door was unlocked. I made an effort to open it with as little as possible and slip inside. I did a double take, full 360. Checked the neighboring porta-potty and returned. No, he couldn't have. I peered down past the toilet seat. Nope. It's gross stuff there. Will? I stepped outside and circled the porta-potty. Will! I called again. My wife appeared next to me holding Lila's hand. What happened? Where's Will? She asked. I don't know. He was inside, Lila. Did you see him leave? The daughter shook her head, thrusting a spoonful of dots into her mouth. You were supposed to be watching him, my wife said. I know! I grabbed the arm of a man nearby. Excuse me, sir, did you see my son leave the porta-potty here? I described Will in detail. He saw the desperation in my eyes, but shook his head. Sorry, try the lifeguard station. I'm sure this happens all the time. He wished us luck, and I thanked him. My wife was beginning to cry. She started to scare Lila. I ran ahead, cutting through one of the splash pads and hopping on the fence to the lifeguard station. This one has kids in it, so are we still cool with that? Because I don't know how I feel about that one. I'm pushing through. I believe in me. I've read worse stuff. Tried the lifeguard station. He wished us luck. We began to cry. I ran ahead, cutting through one of the splash pads and hopping the fence to the lifeguard station. "Oh, excuse me, sir." Some acne-riddled teenager with a red and white uniform stood up behind me. "You?" "My son. I can't find my son. Is there some announcement you can make? Something?" The teen closed his eyes. "Yeah, give me a sec. I need kind of news, so I think..." "I don't have a second. If you can help, then get the manager." There's a bunch of bad words there. "Get the manager," I snarled. A petite girl, also in high school by the looks of it, turned the corner, obviously oblivious to the nature of our conversation. "Hey, you can't talk to him like that," she pouted. "There's no need to be rude." I stabbed my finger at her, my temper at the end of its wick. "I'll be as rude as I goddamn well please. Give me the fucking manager. I'll go there and find him myself." The police were called. Primarily for me. I was screaming, knocking things over, foaming at the mouth, my wife said. The cops said I would have to calm down or they'd handcuff me. They sent out an announcement over the park's PA system. "William, your parents are looking for you at the lifeguard station. If you could find a lifeguard, we can get you back as soon as possible." "Don't worry," the lifeguard manager said. "We radioed all of our employees. He'll be back in no time at all." As it turns out, lost and found children in places like these are fairly common. The problem was, Will never turned up. Okay, it's not much longer. How do you go home after that? We stayed as long as we could, but it's not like you can sleep on the slides. So the same day I left for the water park with my family, we returned one short. Lila didn't know what was happening. We told her Will had gotten lost and the police were looking for him. She asked why we weren't looking for him. She began to cry. The funny thing about humans is how simultaneously effective and ineffective we are at lying to ourselves. Because a deep part of yourself, something in the core, where you know you can trust it, smells the bullshit. And yet we'll take the lie and run as far as we can until our legs give out or we crash face first into a wall. After the first day, a piece of me in my core knew I'd never see Will again. But I ran like hell. My lust for closure deflated everything like a water balloon. I was stupid to think I wouldn't get laughed out of court during custody hearings. But the one reprieve came yesterday. If I couldn't have answers, if I couldn't have my family or my son back, then I'd have some sweet revenge. This last year I'd been leading media campaigns, doing interviews, degrading myself to what I used to frown on and call an activist, all to destroy the water park that took my son. The park was small, got a lot of bad press in the local outlets, where most of the customers were. Apparently this wasn't the first incident in the park's history. Far from it, actually. Having a long list of lawsuits and scandals, it was the last straw, and eventually they were forced to close. Yesterday was the first day of demolition, and I watched it in person, a one-man audience, and it felt good. I was ready to leave around midday when a commotion on the site came and held me. "Axe! Grab an axe!" The crew was in mayhem, and advantageous to my curiosity, no one was around to stop me hopping the barrier to take a closer look. "It's dead. Stop, it's dead." I was too far when the men were standing over and crept closer. "That's a world record. Call someone." "Who?" "The police, animal control. Call someone." "Where did you find it?" "In here." "Well, go check it out. Be careful." I felt my way around the bulldozer, close enough now, and stuck my head past the edge. The scene made my knees buckle. I couldn't comprehend what I was looking at. Covered in hack and slash marks was the python. Never mind the snake, it was the largest animal I'd ever seen up close. Long as a school bus, even longer, stretched out. Despite its size, it looked thin, as if it hadn't eaten in weeks. "Tell me what happened," I asked one of the construction crew members. "We were using a machine to clear the area. Like she said, went and knocked over a porta potty and the dragon came out, rearing its head. One of the holes beneath." The crew began to buzz, taking pictures of the beast and kicking it. The construction man nodded and called for the worker who'd gone to check the hole. "Come on out. There's nothing to find." "Boss, what is it?" "There's bones. There's bones down here." I woke up screaming the next morning, wandering around the house until I went to the newspaper. After all the pieces were collected, the bones were found to belong to 10 unique skeletons. It was a reticulated python, the invasive one, 26 feet long, found in the humidity of the park and chose a place it wouldn't be found. Well, it was just a snake. That was less cool. Why is that the most popular one? Snake in a toilet? I don't like that story. Hey, I'm doing my. You know what? You got a big 26-foot long toilet snake. That's something that somebody heard the word toilet snake and they're like, I'm gonna write that story. It's not a good story. Not a good story, but it's the most popular one of the month for some reason. This shows how why me and Reddit don't get along. We're not friends. The second most popular story was so much better. All right, well, now I'm bummed out because that story sucked. Oh well. Well, I'm gonna go prep for. I have I stream on Twitch sometimes, and I'm gonna be on there in about 9 minutes. So if you want to come hang out, I'll be on there. I'm gonna play a game called. Hang on, I don't remember its name. Hooked on You, a Dead by Daylight dating sim. So I'm gonna be playing that over there. Feel free to come hang out if you want to. Links in my bio and all that fun stuff. Do I still look scared? I've forgotten what I look like right now. No, I don't. Actually, you know what? Hang on. I can just move out of the way. It's right down here. But yeah, you can come hang out. I'll be live for I don't know, an hour or so, and then I need to get to work on a bunch of projects and things I got to do. So, come hang out. I'm glad y'all had fun, and I'll